All right, on today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, let's talk Avalanche free agents. Who do we like? Who do we want to keep? And who are we okay letting walk down the yellow brick road? Let's discuss. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom. Kyle Sullivan, thank you for tuning in. Making it your first listen of the day, always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche, Instagram, and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, LockedOnAvalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. Make sure you're subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. When you do chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, we get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast, which we will do a little bit later. We are going to be talking free agents on today's episode. And we got our people over on subtext, their thoughts on who they want to keep, who they're okay letting go, all of that fun stuff. And that's kind of where we're going to start today, Kyle. What we're going to do in the second segment is I will, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll screen share Cap Friendly and kind of play with their build a roster and kind of show people how difficult this is going to be for the Avalanche to navigate this off season. It's a little humbling when you kind of look at like specific numbers, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
I wish these free agents were a little bit more free.
That would be, yeah, $0 would be so nice if you're coming to the Colorado Avalanche, but unfortunately you can't do that. But let's start with who's the free agents for the Avalanche. And we talked about this a little bit after the season ended. They're in an interesting position in that, most teams have, some restricted free agents, some unrestricted free agents. The Avalanche have one restricted free agent, and his name is Casey Mittelstadt. So that's a big one. And in the past, when we've done this, we've done like one episode where it's just the restricted free agents, and then the next episode we'll do just the because we have enough time for both. Right now, like it's just basically 99% unrestricted free agents. So, and you have guys that are, in your minors and stuff like that are your restricted. So we're not really talking about those guys. But right now it's Casey Mittelstadt and then just a slew of unrestricteds. Which is, so you're gonna have a team that's in flux and that's going to look different, which is no different than any other year. You have it, each year your team looks different in different aspects, right? So,
and it's difficult when you're looking at this year and basically committing to one style, having to kind of course correct. And I mean, both forwards in defense, like they had to go the Sean Walker route, and then just getting this team to a final form and then say, well, that was good. Let's try it again next year. It's almost like a fantasy draft. You got the core locked up, but when it comes to depth, a lot of the pieces that you fell in love with over last year probably will not be there because of the way things are going to shake out.
Yeah. So I'll just name them off and then we'll kind of discuss who we would like to see come back. And then, like I said, next time we'll get into like the numbers and stuff like that. So like I said, your one restricted is Casey Mittelstadt. And then your unrestricteds are soccer style kicker. Let's see. Andrew Cogliano, Jonathan Drouin, Brandon Duhaime, Yoel Kiviranta, Yakov Trenin, and the defensive side, Jack Johnson, Caleb Jones, Sean Walker. You're good in goal for another year. So no goalies are kind of going to be on the market. So start with the forwards. Mittelstadt, restricted. I'm pretty confident they're going to get something done with him. And again, we'll kind of guess what that could be in the next segment. But go with your unrestricted and start at the forwards between Cogliano, Drouin, Duhaime, Kiviranta, Trenin. Who do you want to bring back? Not based on numbers, just based on play. Who do you want to bring back? Who you're okay letting go here?
I think I would be remiss and silly if I said I wasn't leading this conversation with Jonathan Drouin. Like,
Yeah, I think you have to. Yep.
yeah, he's the extra salt and pepper to that top line, and he contributes to that second line. He is incredible, but see, it's a blessing and a curse. Everything he did last year, now he's going to get paid for that on this next contract. So, does somebody want to take a gamble and say, "Hey, that's going to work really good at insert my team here," or does he want to say, "It only works here in Colorado, thank you," and come back? But Drouin is my number one.
I think that question goes for. I think Jonathan Drouin is asking himself that question, and I think other teams are asking that question too. Did it work because it's the Avalanche? And I think Drouin is saying like, "Hey, am I in a good situation here? And if I go somewhere else, am I going to be able to replicate what I've done here and even build upon what I've done here?" And I think both sides are not the Avalanche. I think he can answer that question when it comes to the Avalanche, and the Avalanche can answer that question when it comes to the Avalanche. It's when you go outside of that where both sides are asking. It's been 1 year. He's been in the league for 10 years, and he had this one good season that was kind of a redemption year. So it's a really interesting dynamic because the Avalanche, I think, are ready to give him a pretty good bump in pay. Is there another team out there that it just fell in love what he did for the Avalanche and is willing to go above that? Probably. There's always that team. I can't say who it is because I don't know, but teams are just reactionary and they will look at, oh, he got his game back and he can duplicate that with us, throw a ton of money at him. And it's going to be up to Drew on if he thinks that he can take what he did in the Avalanche and go to another team and do it, or feel like this is a really good situation in Colorado. I'll stay here and take a little bit less. We'll obviously see what the conclusion of this is.
Yeah, because in the West, you have Vegas that still buys over the cap and LTIRs and manipulates the regular season that way. He would be a perfect addition to what they're doing there. And need I remind everyone, the Toronto Maple Leafs are in the process of blowing up, moving out, shifting that core four with a new head coach. And Mitch Marner is a name that is being thrown out there as the one that is leaving. And that's going to cause a power struggle. So if somebody picks up Mitch Marner, then somebody's going to want to pick up this. Dominoes start falling. Drouin is a perfect addition or subtraction to one of those kind of deals. So just keep your eye out on that. So the Avalanche, it's going to be hard with the amount of money they have to compete with all these moves that will be going on this offseason.
Yeah, that's the silly season stuff that we love to get into. And who I don't know. I'm not sold on the whole Marner thing, but that's another show which you can go check out if you want to on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, anybody else between the forwards that you're wanting to see back in Avs colors?
Yes, my other two are absolute would be Cogliano and Kiviranta.
Like with Cogliano, and I've said this before in an episode, like I think I'd be fine either way. I think I would be fine if they brought him back. But do the Avs just want to get younger there? Because you're another year older, and can he, like, the way he plays, he gets beat up a lot.
Yeah.
And when you're now going to be at 37, I think heading into next year, will the length of a season and the trials of a season just catch up to you? It kind of did last year a little bit. But you just got to wonder, like with every hit he takes, be it from a player or a puck, we just expect him to come back. And is it just going to be a little bit too much for him just to keep taking those bumps and bruises? So I love the guy. Don't get me wrong, but I just kind of feel like the Avs maybe just say like, okay, now is the time to go in a different direction with him.
No, you make a great point. Like with his age, if he gets out there and gets injured a quarter into the season, that's $1.5 million, $2 million that you really didn't want to wasted.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he wouldn't command a lot of money, obviously. No. So he's league minimum, and I think he, in that aspect, it's good because he won't cost you a lot against the cap. Kiviranta, yeah, I'm with you. I like what he brings to your depth line, and he doesn't cost you a lot either. So I'm with you on that. And the only other one, like neither of us said Brandon Duhaime. I think he can kind of move on from him. I didn't really feel like he did anything poorly, but I don't think he really stepped up that much either when the Avs picked him up. And Trenin, I would definitely want Trenin back. He's a guy that I really was impressed with.
Yeah.
So his physicality, his size, I thought he brought a good game to the Avalanche team. I'd love to see him back.
Yeah, I feel like you could go get a cheaper, younger Duhaime. Trenin, he's interesting for that same reason of Kiviranta. Cheap and dynamic.
And then on the defensive side, your three guys are Jack Johnson, Caleb Jones, and Sean Walker. Would obviously love to have Sean Walker back. The money is just not going to work. He's just getting a pretty hefty increase. The Avs don't have it, especially on the defensive side. So I don't see him coming back. Caleb Jones, I kind of would. You're shaking your head no. I would bring him back, but I don't in the same capacity. I wouldn't bring him back as to be like, you're our bottom pairing guy. He's not a bad guy to have in when you need him. He's not about just to bury on your roster. And if you got to call him up for something, I think he's capable of doing that. You need those guys. As a starting role, or I should say a third pairing role, I don't think so. But would not be against bringing him back for a small contract at all.
He had some just atrocious turnovers and he was the invisibility cloak. He was completely gone for a lot of those starts that he did make for the team. So I just, and when you're looking at Jack Johnson, Cogliano discussion, but on defense. So if you can't get Sean Walker, do you want anybody at all? Do you want to just pick up something new and fresh? Or
that's like, we are going to go over free agents that are out there. We'll do that relatively soon. But this is all just Avalanche players, obviously. So yeah, I mean, there are the replacements out there. Of course there are. If you're signing a guy for, peanuts, there's other guys that can do that. So do you want to go grab somebody new or keep the guy that's been here for a year? He's got a year under his belt in this system and you feel pretty good about what he can do. That's where the Avalanche have to weigh who they want to bring in and for what dollar amount and all that stuff. I just feel like for what you're going to be asking him to do, yeah, you can go find that somewhere else. But do you think that somewhere else at that cost is going to really just rise above what Caleb Jones was giving you? I'm not sold on that part of it.
Well, I wasn't thrilled with what Caleb gave us, like the Avalanche at all. At the end of the season, I was kind of done with the experiment.
Okay. And then Jack Johnson, I'm kind of in the same boat with him and Andrew Cogliano. It's an age thing. I thought he had a good season, man. Like, I thought he played well, but again, they don't ask a ton of him. So, and the franchise seems to love the guy. So it wouldn't surprise me if they brought him back. But I think the Avs have to look at how long do we want to keep these guys around, because they're just a hip check away from breaking a hip, and is that going to be it for them and their season, or who knows what? But that's why I feel like with Cogliano and Jack Johnson, while I feel like they've done well while they're here, there has to be a time when you move on from guys like that. Could it be this offseason? We'll see.
Yeah, and I feel like Jack Johnson had his best year in an Avalanche sweater this year, but I mean, stars burn brightest before they burn out, and you don't want to commit another season to that.
All right, so let's take a look at this cap-friendly situation. And like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to share the screen and kind of sign some guys and see what the cap looks like. It's not so pretty, but we'll do it anyway. All right, we'll do that next. First, let's hear from FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's get to Cap Friendly and their roster builder, fun little thing that they got over there, which is very useful, by the way. So, yeah. So let's bring it up here. And like I said, if you are watching on YouTube, there it is. So I'm going to kind of navigate this. You can see who's like these guys are signed right now with Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Rantanen. Here's your cap space up here. This obviously has Nichushkin in the roster. So that money is, has taken off the cap. So you have $9.791 million to play with. Down here, I'm going to add Gabe Landeskog. So let's throw him in the mix, and let's add Logan O'Connor. Now we can move guys around here if we want to for line purposes, sure. So we'll move Colton down here. I got Kovalenko on the fourth line, Miles Wood on the fourth line. So you have 2 roster spots there as forwards, and then your third pairing down here. So now adding Landeskog and Logan O'Connor. They were in injured reserve, so that was already counted to the 9.71. So that didn't add anything. So let's go up here and let's sign Casey Middlestat. There's our one restricted free agent at a term length of what? What are we thinking for Casey Middlestat in terms of a contract? I think the Avalanche like to sign guys that they know will be beneficial to them for longer. I'm not saying they're going to go 8 years here, but I think with the Avs in Middlestat, I'm kind of looking around like 5, if you would ask me. I don't
5
know.
years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a 5-year contract, if not 3 to 5.
I don't think he'll take a 3-year contract. I don't think he wants that right now. I think he would be, and this is something where maybe more with Drouin, where they're going to have a little bit of give and take. Yeah. But I think they see the value with Middlestat, and let's just go 5 for how much? That's the other thing. You're. I don't think you're really going any. I think you're going to be in between 5 and 6 if you ask me for him.
I'd say 5 for 5 then.
All right. So let's just do that just to make it nice round numbers. So we'll do 5 for $5 million. And then we'll prop him up in your second line center. Now you are down to 4.791 already. And let's look at your unrestricted free agents that you have. So sign UFAs. Let's go to the Avalanche here. And there you go. Obviously, your first guy is going to be Jonathan Drouin. So what's the number for Drouin?
You meant to say Brad Hunt.
Yeah. Is that what I meant to say? You're 750. So for Drouin, this is another interesting one. And I go back to the Nichushkin deal. People were surprised when they gave him an 8-year contract. And I feel like that was like, hey, that's their confidence in you. Do they do that with Drouin, an 8-year deal for him? I can't envision that right now just because of where they are with the cap. But for him, I don't know why I'm kind of in like the 4 range for him.
Well, but
years,
also
years.
But are they, with this team, the state in flux, kind of the jury's still out on Drouin and what he can bring to this team?
Mm-hmm.
Do they Matt Nieto this guy and go 1 for 1? Like, give us another year. Let's see how it goes. You stick us another year. You know this is going to be tight. Like, give us one more year.
He knows that. Yeah. I think they're both in agreement that there's going to be concessions here on both sides for him. And I think it's widely known that he could probably go somewhere else and make more money. So it's like what we were saying in the first segment. Like, we obviously want you here. It obviously works for us here. You're going to get a sizable increase considering what you made last year. What do you want to do? Here's the other thing I'm going to ask you, Kyle, is because, we're looking at the lines. Assuming Gabe Landeskog comes back, he's on your second line. Assuming Nichushkin comes back, I know people are not going to like that. He's on your second line, maybe flirting with the first line. So if you sign Jonathan Drouin, is he on your third line? Where are you putting him? Are you putting him on the first line and moving Lehkonen down to the third line?
You don't know what the level Lehkonen's going to be at season start. I would probably start Lehkonen. I would start Lehkonen down for sure.
I don't want to get into that of like injuries. We're just talking in like general everybody's healthy world. What line is he going to be on?
I would put Lekin in line 2.
And who moves? And this is with Jonathan Drouin on your team. So if Drouin is on your team, Lehkonen goes on to 2. Who's off of the second line there? It's not Middlestat. It's not Landeskog. It's
Why
not
not?
Nichushkin.
Why not Landeskog?
Well, that is true. I mean, maybe you're starting Landeskog on a lower line, but to start the season, just to see
give him 10 minutes
if he can
tonight.
get back up. Okay. Well, but I mean, if he's back to normal, he is a second line guy. He is on your second line. So I mean, like that top 6 right there, healthy, solid. So if Jonathan Drouin is on your third line, you're not paying him, Landeskog money to play on your third line.
But you also mentioned Landeskog and Nichushkin if they come back, but also if they don't, there is money to play with there and distribute.
That is so true. Right. We haven't gotten to that yet, but and that is there's a lot of truth to that. So basically what I'm just saying is like in the perfect Avalanche scenario where everybody is healthy and everybody's a kumbaya, Jonathan Drouin, he's and that's the beauty of him. He's capable of obviously playing on that first line. You can put him anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. So is that, as far as his value goes, what do you think a number is for him? I'm going to put him for we'll do a see the term. I stink at like terms.
I would
I try to guess.
Do you say they give him another 1 year, $2 million? If it worked, we double.
No.
Do you really would Drouin be the guy to stay with Nate and make something little tiny, like a team friendly, like a Nathan McKinnon deal that we always talked about until he got this highest paid contract? Will he take something goofy and friendly and nice and little just to get through this season and see where this Landy money or Nichushkin money goes? And then on the other side say, hey, bud, thank you for doing that for the team. Now the team takes care of you. And they pay him a little too much.
What if it backfires? What if on his end, what if he goes out and he does not have, another good year and it was just a 1 year fluke? I don't think any of us really feel like that way because, hey, you proved it once, you can do it again. But look at like Georgiev. Georgiev had a solid first year with the Avalanche and then followed it up with not as good as his first year. Well, so Drouin is in the position of he's at that 27, 28-year-old contract where guys get as much as they can. So I cannot see him doing a 1 year deal. I mean, in some aspects, it makes sense because you can, and you prove it again. And you're right. You could be like, or after this year, cap should go up again. We'll have more clarity on Nichushkin and Landeskog. And if those guys falter for whatever reason, you can cash in even more. So it's not, but that is a risk. That is a big risk to do it again. I think he's in a position to be like, hey, I did it for 1 year. I don't want to do it for another year, even though you'll still give me a little bit of an increase for if I do it for 1 more year.
I'll throw you a counterpoint. I don't think Drouin's in that position. He's at the 27-year contract, but he's also on his second or third team that's given up on him.
Yeah, and I think that's why he'll get an increase, but not where, to the level of like Middlestat or something like that.
Yeah, if he has another good year, that's good. But if he has another bad year, he's never getting I don't know who the next team will pick him up.
So I feel like that's kind of why he's saying like, no, I want to have a little bit of term here. I can't imagine he would do another 1 year deal again. Well, I'm saying like I see some sense to it. He's playing with fire and doing that.
Yeah.
So let's just say whatever with the term, I don't know. I'll say 4, but what like a realistic number for him? Kind of forget the cap right now, and just say like what do you think
give him a
reasonable and respectable number? What's up?
3.
See, I think that's a little low. I think he's gonna want.
He's not Ross Colton. He's not giving you Ross Colton type numbers. It's like he's a nice.
Colton's making 4. Dude, I would give him Ross Colton money. You expected more out of him than Ross Colton. I would give him 4.
Even forgetting the cap, I don't know if I'd give Drouin 4.
Really?
Because then what are you going to do if this backfires like we were talking about? And you're going to sit there and look at this career going downhill, paying him $4 million and
I mean, he gave you 56 points this year. That's more than Colton.
That's true. That's very
Yeah.
true. But again, with everything you got going on with this team, what if that goes wrong? That's another somebody you got money tied up in, and you got Landy, Nichushkin, and $4 million on Drouin.
That's the other part of it is if Landy does not return, if Nichushkin, who knows what happens with him, and you give him a lower number, obviously he's proven he can play on that top line, and you're paying him $3 to $4 million. He's not going to be happy about that. He kind of took a bad deal because now you don't have Gabe anymore. Nichushkin, like worst case scenario for those two guys, or they don't play for the Avs anymore. And now you've given, he's accepted a dollar amount that's way below value, and he's, you're expecting so much from him, and he's giving you so much, and you're paying him less than your third line center. It's a really fascinating situation for Jonathan. Like he probably, there's going to be teams out there that probably offer him close, probably like in the 5 range, I would say, even after just based on that 1 year. So you're thinking 3. I'm thinking like 4 to 4.5. So why don't we settle on like 3.5?
3.5.
So we'll do that 3.5 for Drouin, which I think is low, but what are you going to do? So now there's your cap space, 1.291. And we'll put Drouin, we'll just throw him over here for now. Obviously you can move him around wherever you want. So you still need a fourth line center. Do you dip into your Eagles here? Here's Jean-Luc Foudy, or you can go sign who's your other unrestricteds here?
No, you're going
centers go.
Yeah, it would probably be Foudy then.
You got Fredrik Olofsson. I mean, I don't know if you can rely on him every day. No, that's really it. Trennan's there. I mean, if you could get Trenan, but I think Trennan's pricing himself out because he made 1.7 last year. He's probably going to make maybe tack on another million or so, I would say.
He didn't hit 20 points.
People, with the cap going up, like these, and that's the other thing. With the cap going up, these 1-year deals are not going to happen. Like people really didn't have a choice. They needed to kind of get these bridge deals, and now with the cap going up, you're going to get guys like him making a little bit more. So he's going to make at least that. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if he's like at 2.5, and we've already established the Avalanche at 1.2. So Trenan is out. This obviously puts Sean Walker out. There's no way that the Avalanche have enough money to move around for him. So you're either looking at who's our other centers here. That's it.
We're playing around with like $1.5 million, or was $1.7 million, and we haven't even talked about what they're doing to replace those that are leaving on defense.
Exactly. I didn't mean to put Jean-Luc Foudy on defense. There you go.
That's a plan.
So there's your forwards. You bring Jean-Luc Foudy up, and you're at less than $500,000 in cap space, and you have to fill out. You have to fill out your defense, your bottom pairing defense. Throwing my hands up, man, because like moves are going to have to happen. Here's your defense. You can bring Malinsky up. You can bring Sean Barons up if you want. Here, why don't we do that? There's Malinsky there. Here's Barons. This won't move up on its own, so I gotta do this.
Oh, you want me to make it a little bit more fun for you?
Yep.
You hear that thunder in the distance?
Mm-hmm.
Mikko Rantanen is a free agent after this year.
This year, we're going way too far into the future.
Yeah, it's something to also keep in mind. Like you're going to put this thing together with Band-Aids and bubble gum, and you're going to have to really do it again the following year.
Because there's your number. If you just bring up your 2 minor league guys, Malinsky and Barons, and if you don't want to bring them up, then you have to go sign somebody. But there's the dollar amounts for which you kind of have to sign them around, and you are 1.3 million over the cap.
How much do we get back if we put Bernie on LTIR?
So the question is, do you have to move a contract here?
Yep.
Who do you move? And that's what Drouin at 3.5, which I think is a little bit low. So if they give him a little bit more than that, that number gets even worse for the cap right there.
That's where
So who moves?
you turn to Drouin and say, "Hey, buddy, you're Matt Nieto. 1 year, 1 million. This team will be together."
They won't do that. He
Well,
will
then,
not do it. He'll walk. He will walk if they give him a $1 million contract.
then that's fine because you have to put a team out there, and
Yeah.
I get it. If he wants more, go right ahead, but you have to put a full team on the ice.
Now, if you do something with like Nichushkin, I mean, people are probably shouting like, "That's the contract you move." Not Nichushkin. Okay. I mean, if you can do that and the Avalanche are kind of over it,
Yeah, in
then you
November.
try to do that. And even if you're gonna have to keep money, if you deal that contract, whether it's half, I don't know what the numbers would look like. That's $3 million that you're putting towards your cap right off the bat there.
That's
So
you can't touch that contract for 2.5 months of the season because of the program.
a month and a half about, yeah, because
Yeah.
he's mid-November.
Yeah, so it's just sitting there. You're still going to have to put a team together around that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Yeah, because that money comes. I mean, you start him on LTIR, and that money comes right back when he's back on the roster. So, again, even if you don't like the players in these positions, then look at the numbers. Look at their dollar amounts. If you don't think Jean-Luc Foudy is your fourth line center to start the regular season, okay, his number is bare minimum.
yep.
Same thing with your third pairing defense. Those numbers are below $1 million. You're gonna have to find free agents out there that are around that dollar amount, and that is your cap issue right there at 1.3 over. So maybe maybe Miles Wood goes. You free up $2.5 million with him. I would hate to see him go because I just love the craziness that he brings you. But it's a numbers game right now for the Avalanche, and it just looks like a struggle.
Maybe they need to start a timeshare or
Hmm.
a side business. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm trying to think of ways to make this financially work for this team.
You know what it is? I think we need another Harrison Ford movie. Is what we need.
Air Force 1, 2.
Yeah. Oh God! So there you go, people. That's where we're at with the Avalanche. So if they, you can maneuver some things around. It's not horrible. I mean, 1.3, and that's our numbers, right? So you're around there. You can work with that, but you're going to have to get creative with a couple contracts here and there and a couple moves. And then, you still have to sign like Callum Ritchie, which they're talking about signing him. He could be in the mix as well. So that could replace the Foudy thing. Who knows? But it kind of just gives you a little bit of a bird's eye view of what the Avalanche are dealing with when it comes to their cap this year. If they can figure out the Nichushkin thing and they do want to move on from him, that solves a lot of problems. A lot. Even if you have to retain half of that salary, it still solves a lot of problems. And then again, with the Gabe Landeskog thing, if worst case scenario, he doesn't come back, obviously that is another $7 million. And then you have money to play with. But a year from now, are you revisiting this with at least Landeskog? If worst case scenario, again, he's out another year. I don't want to go there too much because he was pretty confident he's going to play at some point this season. So that's why we put him on there. Because you're going to have to deal with that.
We've also been in that position before the last 2 years.
We have, but maybe not. He seemed pretty confident that he's on the right track. So you throw his number in there because you're going to have to deal with it at sooner or later during this season. So what do you think? Do you feel like they can be as good of a team, or do you feel like this is going to be like a patchwork together team as far as like the depth goes? Your stars are your stars. That doesn't change things. And we always talk about the time on ice that they have. It doesn't seem to me like that's going to get fixed next year. You're going to get 25 to 30 minutes a night from Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, Nathan McKinnon. So your top guys are going to be asked to carry the load again, at least for one more season for the Avalanche. And do you feel good about that? Do you feel like they can carry this team?
Unless this team realizes from last year that if you actually get up first and you score like 2 or 3 and get that lead, minutes are evened out and you get a little bit of a break. That's the only way you're going to survive this season. Get out there, get that lead early and hold it. Then minutes will start evening out. Then you could rest. If not, if you have to come from behind, you're going to be playing 25, 30 minutes a night.
We'll see where this goes. It's going to be exciting. And I'll tell you what, man, I think I've liked the moves that Chris McFarland has made. And I know there's a lot of people out there that don't, but I think that's more like hindsight than anything.
Yeah.
But he will either really impress some people this offseason, or the people who have not been thrilled with him are going to dislike him even more. But his hands might be tied with some stuff. But if he can make some crafty moves here, and put together a team that we're like, wow, like we didn't see these moves coming. And he put together a heck of a team, a heck of a roster, all things considered. You got to give the man some credit. Everybody want to give him a lot of credit when they made the moves at the trade deadline. And then because the season didn't work out well, somehow it was his fault how they didn't play well on the ice. I don't get that. But he's going to have to earn his money this offseason. He knows that. So it's going to be a tight squeeze for him and the team. And I'm kind of excited to see how they maneuver all this stuff. It's going to be a ride.
It's going to be a quiet off season, but every move is going to be very, very loud.
We shall see. All right. We're running kind of late, so we didn't get to the subtext people, but I do want to give them their shout outs for who they like and who they want to bring back and all that stuff. So we will do that tomorrow, including whatever else we cover for tomorrow's episode. So that will wrap it up for today. Hopefully we got some sort of an education on this. I don't know. It's maybe a little bit of a downer a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciate it. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is Locked On Avalanche podcast. See you guys tomorrow.